الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد الصادق الأمين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وبعد. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. I hope the sisters are there. Is everybody there now? I cannot hear you. Do we have the sisters in the class? Okay.
Yes, inshallah.
Thank you, sister. Thank you. Today, inshallah, we have a lot of interesting things to talk about. But before we start, I want to give some announcements. I have brought with me a DVD, which is a documentary about the AT&T, how to do the mosque tour from the beginning to the end. We have documented this in Bahrain using the Grand Mosque. So whoever has not attended the first AT&T level 1 can get a copy of this from the management and give this to the management. They can make a copy for you and be free of charge, and you can watch how it's done practically in the masjid. It's very, very detailed, and we have many tour guides and different tourists coming with us, and you can see live how it's done. So this is one announcement. The second announcement, I'll be leaving behind this DVD of misconceptions in Islam or about Islam by Dr. Zakir Naik. We can borrow it from the management if you want to know more afterwards. There is today, inshallah, after this, and to talk about Buddhism, concept of God in Buddhism, then we'll see a DVD by Zakir Naik on the concept of God in Islam. This will be the second session of the tea break. I have some books I brought with me from Bahrain, which talk about where hearts and souls meet. It talks about the story of Makkah and Hajj and Ibrahim alayhi salam and construction of the Kaaba. This is very popular with the non-Muslims, and this was written by one of our colleagues in the mosque. It has very useful information for the Christians regarding the Makkah and the Kaaba and the history of Hajj. We have it in French language, in English and in German languages. We'll be giving this also to you in the folder. We'll give you a CD with the 3 files: AT&T level 1, AT&T level 2, AT&T level 3, and the Gorab approach. All of this will be in that CD you'll be getting, inshallah. Also, I'll be leaving behind me this book, 20 Most Common Questions About Islam by Dr. Zakir Naik, in the library. If somebody wants to borrow it, no problem. I also brought with me this wonderful, nice booklet, How to Conduct Mosque Tours. This is our latest publication in the Al-Fat Islamic Center. This is, many people have contributed to this book. I've contributed, and others also. It explains the whole tour from A to Z, how to handle the tours inside the masjid. It goes with that CD. And I have brought on about 25 copies, but I will only give this to those who volunteer in the masjid tours. So those of you who will graduate, inshallah, and future volunteer to work for the Info Islam Center, we'll get one. This will be one of the books that you'll get to help you out. It's very clear, very detailed, very simple, and even the Gorab quote is included as an option inside. So you can see how we do our tours in Bahrain. So everything is done for you. There's nothing to worry, it's very easy. One other gift we'll be giving you, inshallah, we have this CD called Islam in Brief in 28 different languages. This was prepared by Brother Father Sulaiman. He has his own called Bridges Foundation in UK and in Egypt. So this one is a beautiful introduction to Islam to the non-Muslims. If you don't have books, you can give them this in 28 different languages. It has very nice interviews, and it has people who are well-known Muslim scholars like Yusuf Estes and other scholars, Ibrahim Green, and they're talking about Islam in different languages. So it's a very important CD. I recommend you take a look at this. But I'll leave this with the management. They can make a copy for you, no problem. Right. We'll go now and continue with our classes. Yesterday we agreed that we'll change the setup or the system. We'll do the comparative studies in the morning session, and the afternoon session we'll do the question and answers. Inshallah we'll start with Buddhism, and inshallah after the tea break we'll do the Hinduism. So I see many people are still missing, but we cannot delay anymore. So Bismillah bihi nasta'in. Okay. Let's first introduce Buddhism. Okay, Buddhism is one of the world religions. It's actually named after the founder. The founder is called Gautama Buddha. It's popular in the Asian countries. You have India, you have Nepal, you have China, you have those Southeast Asian regions where it's very popular, especially Tibet and Nepal. And Buddha himself has a very interesting story. He was called Siddhartha. He was from a ruling family. He was the son, was a prince in a ruling family, and he was also called Sakyamuni. He was born in the village of Lumbini near Kapilavastu, which is now in Nepal, in the year 563 before Jesus Christ, or before Christ was born. So this is the founder, and the name Buddha will explain how it came about. According to the legend, an astrologer foretold his father, the king, that the young Gautama would give up the throne and the luxury of the life that he was living in and renounce the whole world one day. But if he sees 4 different things, he has to see somebody is very old, somebody is crippled, somebody is diseased, and somebody who died. If he sees these things, he will leave everything and renounce the world. So he the father put him in a very nice palace, surrounded him with all the pleasures of this world, and let him not leave that compound. He was kept in a compound with all the life enjoyments. He didn't have a chance to go out to see anything. So he was not allowed to leave the compound of the palace. So at the age of 16, he got married to his wife, Yasodhara. Then at the age of 29, he got his firstborn, his son, and on the same day, he saw all these 4 things. He saw the old man, he saw a crippled man, he saw a sick man, he saw a dead man. So he got so shocked that he immediately renounced everything. He left his family, he left his kingdom, he left his wife and kid, and he went wandering into the jungle by himself. Because he did not know that there was suffering in the world. He used to think everybody is living a happy life. So what he was doing now, he was searching for the truth. Why this is happening? Why there's so much suffering in the world? Why are people suffering? Why there's disease? Why there's people getting sick? Why people are crippled? And he was trying to find an answer. So at the age of 35, he was sitting under a big fig tree, they call it bod tree. He felt that he found the solution to this problem. He got enlightenment. That's why he's called Gautama, or the Buddha, which means the enlightened one. And he got like inspiration, he got enlightened about the solution to this problem. He discovered the truth that was searching. So he spent the next 40 years of his life, till he died, he was preaching the truth of what he felt he had discovered. So he traveled from city to city, barefooted, clean-headed, he shaved his head clean, with nothing more on his self except his saffron, robe and walking stick and begging bowl. He died at the age of 80 in the year 483 BC. This is the story of Gautama Buddha. Now let us see. The Buddhism today, as it is, it has 2 sects, 2 major sects. It has Hinayana and Mahayana. These are the 2 major sects of Buddhism, with some differences. Are the sisters with us? I hope the sisters are following me. Okay. Now, basically, historically, it has been found that we cannot really know the original teachings of Buddha. There's no way to verify the authenticity of what really Buddha taught. Because all what was written 4,000 years after him. When he was alive, nothing was written down, and Buddha's teaching was memorized by his disciples. After his death, a council was held at a place called Rajagaha, so that they could try to write down the words of Buddha and agree upon it. But there was differences of opinions and conflicting memories in the council. The opinion of his 2 famous disciples, Keshava and Ananda, became more prevalent. Like Omar bin Khattab and Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, they were his close disciples of Rasulullah. He had 2 close disciples, Keshava and Ananda. They were the prominent disciples of Buddha and were given preference. So 100 years later, they had another meeting. And only after 400 years, after the death of Buddha, were his teachings and doctrines written down. Can you imagine? From his time when he died, 400 years later on, the right material, how much will be true, how much is false. So you can imagine so much things must have been added on top of that. Now, so we cannot verify the truth of what really Buddha taught, because his teachings were recorded later on, and there's no system, to determine the authenticity or the purity or genuineness of these writings. So today, the Buddhist scriptures are divided into Pali and Sanskrit language. Okay? The Pali literature is monopolized by the Hinayana sect of Buddhism. And the most important of their script is Tri Pitaka, which means 3 baskets. And it was written in the 1st century BC. The 3 baskets of law are composed of 3 books. We have the Vinayana Pitaka, which is the rules of conduct, how a Buddhist should conduct himself, the rules of behavior inside the monastery and all these things, the order which they are following. Then the Sutta Pitaka are the discourses or the khutab, his sermons of Buddha, and the incidents of his life. This is written, it's considered one of the most important of his books, but it has 5 divisions.
Sorry, Sheikh.
Yes.
Can you speak slowly, please? We are not understanding all what you're saying.
That's why I was asking the sisters, are you with me? Or nobody was answering, so I thought everybody was with me. Okay, I'll go back again, inshallah. We'll go back to the beginning, no problem. Yeah, we'll return to the beginning. Okay. Got some more brothers just walked in. Please come on time if possible, because time is running and I have to cover a lot of things. Okay, we'll start again. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Today we're going to talk about Buddhism and the concept of God in Buddhism. So what is Buddhism? It's one of the world religions. You have, of course, Christianity is the first in numbers of followers, about 2 billion followers. Muslims as the second in numbers. We have about 1.3 or 1.5 billion followers. Next after that we have Hinduism, then Buddhism. It's one of the leading world religions. There are many other religions which it's small, we don't need to talk about them because we have to focus on the major world religions. Now the religion of Buddhism is named after Gautama Buddha. So it's like Christianity was named after Jesus Christ. Okay? In Buddhism, it's named after Buddha. Buddha is the founder of Buddhism. Okay? Now who is Buddha? Buddha was a prince. He was born in a family who was like a ruling family. This father was a king of a village, and he was the tribe of Sakya. He was called Sakyamuni. His other name was Sakyamuni, means the one who has accomplished. He's called Siddharth or Sakyamuni. He was born in 563 BC in the village of Lumbini. Okay, village of Lumbini in Kapilavastu, which is now in Nepal. Everyone knows where Nepal is, right? India on the top of India, the northeast like this of India. So it's on top of Nepal, close to India, the northern borders of India. So he was born in Nepal, and he was living a very luxurious life. He was left to live like a king. You know, his father, he was told by an astrologer that his son one day will abandon the palace and everything and go start to wander by himself if he sees 4 things. Okay? What are the things that he will see? He will see an old man. Okay, he will see a crippled man, a diseased man, and a dead man. If he sees these things, he will leave everything and go and leave the palace. He will start wandering on his own. So, somebody who's like lame or mu'awwaq. Any cripple, he cannot walk, he cannot, somebody has a cripple in his body or something, any deformation in the body. So Buddha, he was kept in a very nice palace by his father and was not allowed to leave the compound, where so they cannot see any of these things. So his father was afraid that he should see anything, he should not be allowed to leave the compound. So he was living in a very good life. But at the age of 16, he got him married to Yasodhara, and he managed to get his firstborn at the age of 29. So at the age of 29, he got his first son, and on the same day that he had his firstborn son, he saw all these 4 things. So Buddha saw a crippled man, an old man, a diseased man, and a dead man on the same day. Immediately he left everything. This is according to the legend, the story of how he left the palace. So he started to wander. He was a penniless wanderer, trying to search for the truth. Because he was shocked to see so much suffering, and he was living in all this. He could not understand why there's so much suffering in the world. He was trying to find an answer to this problem. Okay? Am I going too fast, the sisters? Okay? I'll slow down still, no problem. I'll slow down, inshallah. So at the age of 35, one day was sitting under a fig tree. They call it the gourd tree. He felt that he has now understood the reason. He's discovered the truth he was searching for. That's why they call that he attained enlightenment. That's why it's called Buddha or Gautama, which means the enlightened one. Okay, he's been now enlightened. He's found the answer he was searching for. Before this, they said Buddha tried many things. He used to fast continuously till he almost became so skinny. Then the effect was not good. He didn't find anything. Then he started to eat normally. Then sometimes he would follow Hinduism or meditate. He still did not find. Then he tried his own meditation till he got this enlightenment. So he went through different stages. He tried different techniques. Now, the next 40 years of his life, 45 years of his life, he spent teaching the people about this new truth he has discovered. He was spending, telling the people what he has discovered after all this meditation. And he traveled from city to city, barefooted, without any shoes, and wearing only saffron robe. Today you see the Buddhists always wear the saffron robe, and they're clean shaven. They don't wear, they're the same as Buddha used to be. He shaved his head, and only his saffron, and his walking stick, and the begging bowl. They have to take that bowl, and that's how they beg for food and whatever they want. So this is the way he used to live, until at the age of 80 he died. So he died in 483 BC, at the age of 80 years old. Now, in Buddhism there are two major groups or sects, Hinayana and Mahayana. These are the two sects. There are different books also. There are different books, different literature. And the Buddhist scriptures, as far as we know, were not written down at the time of Buddha. In fact, Buddha, when he was alive, nothing was written down. It was all memorized by the disciples of Buddha. After he died, there was a council or meeting held at Rajagaha by all these disciples of Buddha to decide what are the teachings of Buddha so they can write it down. But there were differences of opinion and conflicting memories of the council. So they didn't agree on anything. So there was nothing achieved. Then they had another meeting later on. And 100 years later, the second meeting was held at Vesali to decide about the real teachings of Buddha. Then only after 400 years after Buddha had died were his teachings and doctrines written down. So imagine 400 years. What will happen in between? God knows. So in Christianity we saw that the first written gospel was written maybe 30 or 70 years after Jesus, peace be upon him. And there's so many mistakes and contradictions in the Bible. And this was written 400 years. So what can you expect? So basically we cannot verify the authenticity of the teachings of Buddha as far as is concerned, what he really taught. But what we have is what we are using as a way to study their beliefs, what they're following. There was no criteria of determining what is genuine, what's not genuine. It's not like Sahih Bukhari, Sahih Muslim. You can determine this was strong hadith, weak hadith. It's all taken, they just wrote it down without any criteria to determine the authenticity or the validity. Only thing was, they preferred the opinion of the two close disciples of Buddha, who were Keshav and Ananda. Okay? These were the two disciples whom they preferred the opinion over the opinions of others because they are the most distinguished disciples of Buddha. Are we on the same track? Inshallah. Now, the scriptures of the Buddhists have two languages, Pali language and Sanskrit language. The Pali literature was monopolized by the Hinayana sect, and the Sanskrit scriptures monopolized by the Mahayana sect. So each sect has its own language for its scriptures. Now we'll deal with the Hinayana sect. In the Hinayana sect, all their books were written in Pali language. They had what they call the Tripitaka. Tripitaka is one of the most important of the Buddhist scriptures. It is in Pali text. It is supposed to be the earliest recorded literature in the 1st century BC. And the Tripitaka means 3 baskets of law. This is what it means. Tripitaka means 3 baskets of the law. And they are composed of 3 books. Okay? One of the books is called Vinayana Pitaka, which is the rules of conduct of the order. The Buddhist order, whatever they're following, they have to follow certain rules of behavior and conduct. Okay? This is one called Vinaya Pitaka. And the second one is Sutta Pitaka, which means the discourses or sermons and incidents on the life of Buddha. What he used to teach, what he used to preach, what events took place. This is like the most important collection of his sermons and teachings. But this is also divided into 5 sections or divisions called Nikayas. It has also divisions, and the Dhammapada is one of the most important of them, of these divisions, which covering the main essential truths of these teachings of Buddha. The third one is called Abhidhamma, which means analysis of doctrine, like tafsir, comments on the metaphysics, of the doctrine of Buddha, and it's giving elaboration on the first 2 books. So the Abhidhamma is like analysis and commentary and explanation of the first 2 books, which you have talked about. And it concerns all this exposition of the Buddhist doctrine, like tafsir of these 2 books which proceeded. So these are the 3 books of the Hinayana sect, which is in Pali language. Okay? Pali language is a dead language today. Even the Sanskrit is dead except in Hinduism. Okay? Now Sanskrit literature was monopolized by the Mahayana sect. Now the Sanskrit literature was not reduced into collection in canon like in the Pali literature. This is the problem they suffered. Most of it was lost. And what happened was, many of these current books which they have now, the Buddhists, was translated into Chinese before. So they took it from Chinese and translated it back to Sanskrit. So they're trying now to get it back from Chinese language to, because Sanskrit is a dead language. So they cannot find the original Sanskrit Buddhist scriptures. So what they did, they went to the Chinese language one, and they're translating back to Sanskrit. That's what they're doing now. So this is how they are copying, and these are their books. They have the Mahavastu, which is the most famous work in the Sanskrit language, understood from its Chinese translation. It is like collection of legendary stories, all these legends. You know, they have all these heroes and all these things which happened, and a lot of superstition, of course, is involved. And the second one is Lalita Vistara, which is one of the holiest of the Sanskrit literature. It belongs to the 1st century, 500 years after the death of Buddha. So this Lalita Vistara was written 500 years after the death of Buddha. It contains the miracles which those people attributed to Buddha. All the miracles that Buddha did attributed to him is written in this book in Sanskrit language. Don't worry about all these details. You'll get it in the PowerPoint. I'll give it to you, inshallah. You can then take your time to digest it. It takes time, you know. It's not easy to get all these points on the first time. Now, what are the principal, this is where you have to focus now. What are the principal teachings of Gautama Buddha? This can be summarized as the 4 noble truths. This is what he discovered. This is the real crunch. This is what we are looking for. So Gautama Buddha taught 4 truths. These are called the 4 noble truths, which is that there is suffering and misery in the world. The first one. The first noble truth is suffering and misery in the world.
That's obvious.
Yeah, this is obvious. He said he discovered this, you know. First one to discover this, okay. It's their belief. Second is that the cause of this misery and suffering is desire. Yani, desire means shahawat or raqabat or kida, the desires of the nafs. Yeah? So this is the reason for this suffering and misery. The third one is the suffering and misery can be removed by removing desire. You have to get rid of the desires to get rid of the suffering. Okay? The fourth one, desire can be removed by following the 8-fold path. There's the 8th path you have to follow, the 8-fold path. This is which is going to be next. So you have 4 noble truths. There is suffering and misery in the world. Second, suffering and misery is, the cause of the suffering and misery is desire. Third truth, to remove suffering and misery you have to remove desire. And the fourth truth is that to remove this desire to follow the 8-fold noble path. Okay? 8-fold path. Now we'll talk about the noble 8-fold path. You have to have right views. Okay? You have to have right thoughts, right speech, right actions, right livelihood, right efforts, right mindfulness, and right meditation. This is the solution. This is his Sirat al-Mustaqim. You follow this Sirat al-Mustaqim, you'll be okay. Have right views, right thoughts, right speech, right actions, right livelihood, right efforts, mindfulness, and meditation. This is the solution that Buddha proposed to his followers.
Should his meditation through monks?
Yeah, this is the one. They meditate. All the monks meditate in order to develop these things. And of course, this is one of the things. There's the form of worship is by meditation, the focus and the stay for hours to change themselves, to improve themselves, to get rid of desire, get rid of these things. So they focus on anything. So this is why they do a lot of meditation. There's a lot of meditation in Buddhism. Now what is nirvana? This is the objective. What is the point of doing all these things? Is to attain nirvana. So we Muslims, we want to strive to go to Jannah. To attain Allah's Mardatillah Azza wa Jal, and to be in Jannah. For them, the nirvana is the main objective. To attain nirvana is like you reach a stage where you blow out. You get extinct. No more suffering, no more desire, no more pain. It's a state of non-existence. Khalas. You are out of the realities of life. This is what they call nirvana. This is the ultimate goal of life in Buddhism. And it's the cessation of all sorrows. No more sorrows. And it can be achieved by removing desire, following this eightfold path. Okay. طيب. Nirvana for them is the main objective of all these things. So when a Buddhist starts, he has to do all these right thoughts, right views, right livelihood, right mentality, right meditation, mindfulness, all these things to attain nirvana. So what is nirvana? It's a state where you don't have any more sorrow. You become extinct and you blow out. It's called blowing out or extinction. And this is the only way they say you can attain that state. And they feel that when you reach that state, you don't have any more desires. You don't have any more suffering. This is what they achieve. This is their main objective.
Because he already did it here.
I don't know how they I don't know if anybody really attains this state. Because as long as we're in this world, there is suffering. But maybe they live in another world. Maybe it's a spiritual state. Allahu Alam. But they strive to achieve this. And according to only Buddhist monks can achieve this. Because the people in the normal life, they cannot achieve this. So you have to be always dedicated to worshipping and meditation, and this way to purify yourself to reach that stage. Anyway, this is what they believe. Nirvana is their goal. So the philosophy of Buddhism is sometimes contradicting itself in some respects, because as we say, you have to follow the Four Noble Truths. Now, the third Noble Truth says suffering and misery can be removed by removing desire. Okay? Now, what about the fourth? Desire can be removed by following the eightfold path. The question that you can ask the Buddhists now, how can you follow the eightfold path if you have no desire to follow it? This is the problem, because you have to have desire to follow it. How will you follow this eightfold path if you have already removed the desire? See, the desire has to be there for you to follow this eightfold path. Otherwise you won't have the ability to follow this eightfold path. So there's some contradiction there. Yeah.
He will maybe say that he wanted to remove the bad desire, and the desire to follow eightfold path is a good desire, not a bad desire.
That's possible, yeah, but here they don't specify whether the desire is good or bad. They just say desire, totally, any desires, means you should have no desires at all. Human beings cannot live without desire. We can't exist. We have to have desire to do anything. We have to have desire to work, desire to eat, desire to do anything. Otherwise you cannot move. You'll be like just sitting and meditating. That's it. That's the only way. Otherwise you want to go find a job, you have to go and look for a job. You need a desire to go and look out. You need desire to eat. You need desire. Allah made it this way so we can operate, we can function in this life. If you don't have desire, then you will become totally non-existent. You are not existing anymore. Anyway, this is what they say. They believe that this is the way to attain this. Yeah?
And what meaning
desire is رغبة. رغبة we call it حتى الشهوات. كل هذا رغبات شهوات كل هذا يسمونها يعني desires. Anything that you ترغب فيه أي شيء ترغب فيه يعني ما يكون عندك رغبة خالص يعني توصل لمستوى ما في رغبات عندك خلاص. You achieved your goal. You are now in another plane. So maybe this is a spiritual state only, of a spiritual feeling. Yeah? It has nothing to do with the reality. Because in this world it's impossible, as far as I know, to attain this kind of situation, unless you die. Maybe you die, if you go to Jannah, you won't have the sorrow anymore. But if you go to another place, there's a lot of punishment there. So the Buddhists, they believe that you can attain nirvana by following this meditative eightfold path, which we mentioned earlier. everything mubah. No, it's not everything. They have rules. They're against like zina and stealing and cheating. They have the same values we have. These points are good. All these points are good. I mean, we don't say it's bad teaching. It's a good thing, but it's a self-individual philosophy. It's like having principles to live with. So basically, Buddhism gives you what you call a self-help scheme. It's a self-help mechanism. You're trying to improve yourself, having some principles to follow. You have to have right views, right thoughts, right livelihood, right meditation. What is the idea? To become a better person, but it's an individual philosophy. It's a personal philosophy. It can be seen like it's a man-made thing. Like I have my own individual, I put my own principles. I want to be an honest person. I don't want to steal or cheat or do this. I want to behave in a morally upright manner. I want to keep my promises. Everyone can put their own principles, just like a self-help scheme. It's basically like that. It has nothing to do with like we say wahi and all these things and there's Yom al-Qiyamah. This is something like that. Basically, if you look at the teachings, this is what it talks about. Now,
Sheikh, is Buddha a god or a prophet?
no, he's okay. Just a minute. We'll talk about that. What we know is that Buddha, we cannot know if he's prophet or not. We know in the Quran that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent messengers and prophets to every nation. And Allah said He has sent messengers to each and every وَلِكُلِّ قَوْمٍ هَادٍ. And in another one said وَمَا مِنْ قَرْيَةٍ إِلَّا لَهَا نَذِيرٌ, or I can't remember the ayah. إِلَّا خَلَا فِيهَا نَذِيرٌ. So we believe that to each nation Allah sent messengers of a warner. Because in history, the Prophet said Allah sent 124,000 prophets. Among them maybe 300 something messengers. Now, we know only 25 are mentioned by name in the Quran. Among them is Prophet Muhammad. But all about the others are not mentioned. India and China, these are big places of civilization. Allah must have sent them prophets and messengers. So there could be a possibility that maybe Buddha or maybe Krishna and Rama and Confucius, maybe these are people prophets, but people over time change the message. There is a possibility, we don't say for sure. Because I'll be showing you some of the teachings of Buddha about Prophet Muhammad, which show that there must be something from God originally. But according to the teachings of the disciples, Buddha never mentioned anything about God. He never talked about God. He didn't deny that there's God, nor did he confirm there's God. He said, I'll explain this, I'll come to that inshallah. So the people of Buddha, later on their followers, worshipped him as a God. But he never claimed to be God. He never claimed that he's God, nor did he talk about God at all in his teachings. Yeah.
In the time of Buddha, when he's alive, what people worship? They worship
Hinduism and Jainism. See, Hinduism was the prevalent religion in that region, Hinduism, which we'll be talking about later today after the break. But Buddha was against Hinduism because of the caste system. You have this caste system where you have the Brahmins and the Kshatriyas and the Shudras and all these 4 classes. Yeah, this is like controlling. Yeah, where people separate best of the class and you cannot leave your class, go to another class. You stay condemned all your life in that lower level, from the low level. So Buddha wanted to change this society, to remove this class system. So many of his followers later on even started worshipping Hindu gods. We'll see how they were influenced by Hinduism. Yes.
And Buddhism and Hinduism يعني ما يتفاهموش
They are different in the sense that it's a different philosophies, but the similarities also. You see, Buddhism is a reaction to Hinduism. Buddhism was a reaction to Hinduism. It's like a reforming of Hinduism. Like you want to reform some things in Hinduism. But then later on, the Buddhist followers adopted some Hindu beliefs, Hindu forms of God. But Buddha doesn't offer them any God to worship. We'll be talking about this later on. So a religion of no God became a religion of many gods over time. Even Buddha himself became a god when he didn't teach anything about God Almighty. So we'll talk about this now, please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When we talk about Hinduism, and you see everything what they do, you can say it's bullshit and jahl, and you can say everything about Hinduism. But when we're speaking about Buddhism, sometimes it exists. You can feel it's the truth, and you understand me. for example, for relax and everything like this, it exists sometimes.
Okay, we do not condemn any religion. When we do as a dawah, we don't tell anybody your religion is nothing, you know. We have to take it based on, of course we know that what they're teaching is false, but there is in each religion something good. Like in Buddhism, you find some good principles they have. In Hinduism, you find some concepts which are close to Islam. So do not use it as a blanket, don't judge it blanket-wise, don't judge a religion that's all bad. No, you have to see and judge accordingly, because we know, for instance, the Quran said that among the Ahlul Kitab, people who are believers, who worship Allah, they pray, they fast, and they will be successful. But we cannot say all the people of the book are wrong. So Hindus, you have different kinds of Hindus. The Hindus who believe in one God, who are like Muslims. And you have Hindus who believe in 330 million gods. Okay? You have Hindus who have 3 gods. It's not one Hindu religion, several versions of Hinduism. This is the problem. It's not one type. The people worship monkeys, worship dogs, or worship cows, worship trees. Everything is God to them. And others know, they believe in one God. So you have to distinguish between one and the other, depending on what they believe. So you have to be careful. Before you judge a person, you have to know exactly what they really believe, because they have different forms of belief in Hinduism. Now let us focus on Buddhism. We'll come to Hinduism later, inshallah, after the break. What is the concept of God in Buddhism? Buddha was silent about the existence or non-existence of God. It was like he thought maybe that India was, that time, fully immersed in idolatry, in idol worship, the worshipping idols, and anthropomorphism. So that if he was to talk about Tawheed, it would be a very big difference and drastic change, and maybe people would not accept. So maybe he kept silent knowingly or deliberately, Allahu A'lam. But he did not deny the existence of God. He never denied that. Once he was asked by one of his students, his name, I don't remember what his name, he asked him, does God exist? What did he say? He refused. When he kept pressing him, he said, if you're suffering from a stomach ache, would you concentrate on relieving the pain or studying the prescription of the physician? What do you choose? He said, it's not my business or your business to find out whether there is God. Our business is to remove the suffering of the world. That was the answer, according to the Buddhist students. Okay, this is what he said. It's not our business to find out whether it's God. We have to get rid of the suffering in the world. So there was no clear mention of God in Buddhist original teachings, according to their written text. So this makes it doubtful that he's a prophet, because the prophets, first thing they invite is La ilaha illallah. All prophets have to first teach Tawheed before they start anything else. So this puts a big question mark about Buddha being a prophet. Maybe he's just a reformer or a philosopher. It could be like that. Allahu A'lam. Anyway, so Buddhism provides an impersonal law, like a dharma. They call it dharma, means your own personal law is in place of God. You manage your own affairs, and you are your own God. Actually, you are running your own show. So everybody is his own God. You manage your own. I just give you rules to follow, you know. And this did not satisfy the desire of many people to have a God, or to have external help from God. Human beings, in their nature, always look for external help. They feel the need to communicate to higher power, higher being, to solve their problems. So what happened? The Hinayana sect, one of the sects of Buddhism, could not offer any promise of help to the people. But the other sect, the Mahayana, what they say, Buddha's watchful and compassionate eyes are always looking at you. They will take care of you. And Buddha is like watching you and then looking for you so you can pray to him. Means that Buddha became a God now. He started worshipping him instead of the God. So you see, the concept of God, or Buddha becoming God, was as an evolution. Because of the people who are followers, they felt they wanted a God to worship. And Buddha did not offer that to them, so they made Buddha a God himself. So this is actually as an effect from Hinduism. See, these people living mostly in that Indian subcontinent, Nepal and India. This is where Buddhism really spread, and that's where the problem, they were mixing with the Hindus, they got influenced by the Hindus. So we have the many Buddhists start to adopt the local God, and the religion of no God was transformed into the religion of many gods. Big and small, strong and weak, male and female. Same as in Hinduism. And they have what they call the man God. They have one God, he comes in form of a man every time, and they will have this special ceremony for him, and he's incarnating from time to time. So when that person dies, he comes again in the form of another person. They call him the man God. So this is the reality now of Buddhism. They have what is called the Dalai Lama. Dalai Lama is the head, and they believe that is incarnation of God. And that's, if he dies, another one will come. So it's like continuous. God comes in the form of a human being. So this religion of Buddhism became now a religion of many gods. Before it had no God, there are so many gods. And Buddhism was basically against the caste system in Hindu society. So that's why it came as a reaction to Hinduism. Now, what do we want to know for Dawah? Yes, Mundar?
Dalai Lama is like Pope for...
Yeah, he's their leader. He's the spiritual leader of the Buddhists from Tibet. Tibet is actually like the headquarters now. In Nepal, Tibet is like the biggest temple there, and the Dalai Lama is supposed to be the leader of the Buddhists, these people, and he is like their Pope.
It's like the Vatican.
Yeah, he's their head, and he is now in India. He's taken refuge because the Chinese have conquered Nepal, taking it, so he is taking refuge now in India. He's in India, and he is there with his monks. But they are trying to campaign to go back to free Tibet, but still now he's not succeeded. But he's well known internationally.
And how do they choose the Dalai Lama?
This is a good question. I really don't know. What I know is that they have certain ways of identifying this man-God. They have something that they use to identify if he performs miracles or something like that. They say must be that one who has been incarnate. He has to do some miracles or something like that. So they have their own criteria, but I really don't know exactly how they choose the Dalai Lama. I have no idea at this stage. Yeah. Yes.
I don't think about Buddha, he can be a messenger or prophet.
Yeah.
Because I know there is a lot of prophet and messenger.
Yes.
And God, Allah speak about Luqman in the Quran, and Luqman he never be
He's not a prophet
or a messenger. If I think if Buddha is messenger or prophet, maybe God he can talk about him in one line or
منهم من قصصنا عليك وممن لم نقصص عليك. Allah said they are among the prophets. Allah has mentioned them and some He has not mentioned. So it's not that whoever is not mentioned is not a prophet. No, there could be other. There are many prophets, of course, who are not mentioned by Allah. Allah only mentioned 25. And we know Allah said He has not mentioned others. So we have to understand that could be Buddha was a prophet. There's a possibility, but we have to see the teachings. If there is evidence of prophecies in Buddhist scriptures that talk about Muhammad, then he is a prophet. Okay? Evidence of Tawheed is a prophet. Evidence of the same beliefs as Muslims is a prophet. So we have to use the evidence that we have. That's what we compare with the Quran. Same thing with the Hindu scriptures. If you compare, you find a lot of things which are like in Quran. Same. Tawheed and everything. Even Muhammad is mentioned, Allah is mentioned there. Cannot be accepted from the Prophet.
Prayers and
Yeah,
fasting.
very, very close. So we have to understand the real teachings of this religion, because some things we see are practices by people which are different from the scriptures. So we're looking at the scriptures, then we can determine. Because what happened was, most of these teachings were written later on. Buddhist scriptures were written 500 years or 400 years later, after Buddha left this world. That's where the problem comes from. People would add their own ideas, superstitions and legends and make a hero out of him. You know, this is normal human practice. So this is the problem with most religions, Christianity. The first Bible was written maybe 30 or 70 years after Jesus had left this world. But the Quran is a different story. Alhamdulillah, Allah got it written down while the Prophet ﷺ was alive and memorized at the same time. Within 1 year of his death, it was compiled as one book. That's Allah protected this deen from being changed because of the preservation of the Quran and the Hadith from the very beginning. It was written down. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took care of this matter. But other scriptures were lost because of these reasons. You know, this is a good point, but as I said, we have to see the real scriptures and judge accordingly. Now, yes. Yeah.
Are the followers, are the Buddhists of nowadays, like the Christians, they do not follow the book? I mean, are they strict followers of the teachings?
Okay, the question which is being asked by Brother Muhammad is, the Buddhists today following the teachings of Buddhism as, or they are not following as the Christians are not following the original teachings? I believe that the Buddhists today are following what they believe in. As far as I've seen, I don't know, I've not seen, I've been in the States, I was invited to attend one of their functions in the temple, And we went there, there's a big statue of Buddha, and they brought so many fruits there, and I was hungry. I said, why? What is this? I was thinking that we're going to eat this food now. I was waiting, nobody was eating. What is going on? Then they said, the sacrifice, la hawla la quwwata illa billah. So I was hoping that they all go away so I can eat the food. So they worship, they put sacrifice, and I'm sure somebody comes later on and eats the food, you know. But they believe that this Buddha and all these things, he has like power or something like that. But they worship him. They have du'as, they make morning du'as, afternoon du'as, evening du'as, and they tried to convert me to Buddhism actually, but they didn't succeed. They just said me, somebody tried to talk to me nicely, and I said, look, I'm a Muslim, I'm happy to be a Muslim, I'm not interested to become a Buddhist, you know. And unfortunately, I found many Muslims joining them. Some were Muslims and Buddhists at the same time. I said, how can you be Muslim? He's from Japan, he's a Muslim and he's a Buddhist at the same time. I said, how can this be? So he doesn't know Islam and he's following blindly. He thinks it's okay, I can be Muslim and Buddhist at the same time. You have Japanese who have Shintoism and Buddhism at the same time. They follow both. Yeah, they mix everything. Yeah.
Believe me, a colleague working with me in the same office.
Yeah.
He's a Muslim.
Yeah.
He watches Ramadan and prays 5 times a day.
Yeah.
But he's very interested in Buddhism, and he thinks it's the true religion.
Then I think he's
even in Tunisia, even Muslims.
See, this is the reality. It's a problem. Yeah. So people like this.
I have a little question.
Yes. Yes, brother.
I have a friend who he played Kung Fu, and he said that when we went to Japan or China, I don't know, they go to the temples of Buddhists to teach them and to improve their knowledge about Kung Fu. And there is a very hard relation between Kung Fu, the sport, and their religion of Buddhism. And like he's mujbar, forced to do something like that.
Okay. Our brothers, just for the sisters to know that our brothers mentioning that there is a lot of things that Buddhism has to do with Kung Fu. Well, some brothers went to learn Kung Fu in another country and Japan, and they were always having to go to the temple, and they had to do certain activities which are linked to Buddhism to learn Kung Fu. Anyway, I think a Muslim should be careful in doing these things, like certain things like showing bowing and prostration. You should not prostrate except to Allah. You should not bow except to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You should not go to that point. Okay, there's certain rules of Kung Fu, like maybe you can start like standing each other, facing each other. This is fine. But when it comes to bowing and saying certain words which have to do with religious recitation, you shouldn't do that. This is taking out of Islam. It's like shirk. So one has to be careful what he's saying and what he's doing. It should not be linked to the religion of Buddhism. It should be something just like an etiquette or something like respect, which is used by the people for general activities. It has nothing to do with the religious teachings. But as part of the religious teachings, then it's a big problem. The person will be committing shirk. Because sometimes the people don't know. They think it's just to do with Kung Fu or just meditation. But when it involves certain words, certain things you have to say before you start the tournament, which have to do with shirk, then you have to be careful. So that takes you out of Islam. It commits shirk. Yeah. Yes, Brother Mukhtar. You can take the mic because I cannot give translation for the sisters. Those who are close by, they can use the mic.
Yes, Sheikh, they have bad things to do. When, for example, when they go to some family and they take one girl and they kill her and yes, يقدمون القربان. So what about this?
These are Buddhists?
Yes, it's in the Buddhist.
I've never seen something like this.
that means so ياخذوا البنت يذبحونها ومعناها ودماءها يكون معناها في سطل واللحم يعطيوه للعائلات الفقيرة والدم يقدمونه قربان لبوذا معناها والله أعلم.
I see some pictures.
Okay, This is something actually I've never had except today. I've never been through I've met many Buddhists, but this is the last thing I've ever imagined they will do. Because Buddhists, they don't have sacrifices. They sacrifice only food, they give food and fruits to the Buddha. So I don't know which kind of Buddhism this one is, Allahu Alam. What I believe is this is a devilish rites. People worship the devil, shaitan, they do this. They sacrifice a girl, especially a virgin, and they give to the shaitan. This is known in America. We had some groups who are worshipping the devil. They do sacrifice human beings to the shaitan. But I'm not sure what kind of Buddhism that, because from what I've read, there's no such thing in Buddhism, as far as I know the teachings are concerned here.
And the family of the girl, be happy.
In Egypt, they used to give the one for the river Nile. They used to do the same thing. They used to sacrifice one virgin, and for the river Nile to take every now for the season, so the river Nile will flow onwards. Till Amr bin al-As, he wrote to Umar bin Khattab and told him there's this ritual in Egypt. So Umar wrote on a piece of paper to Amr, he said you throw this into the river. He said, من أمير المؤمنين ومن الخطاب إلى النيل. He said, إنك عبد ومعمور وأنا عبد ومعمور. So you flow, you don't keep flowing. He just told him, you put this in the river, and he put it and nothing happened. So this is the reality. Shaitan can deceive people. Shaitan may use some tricks to make people, maybe use jinns to stop the water, or jinns to make people think this is the only way to get the solution. And it's not from Allah, it's from Shaitan. So people worship the shaitan and sacrifice their daughters, and the jinns are doing this to deceive the people. So I believe, according to the scriptures, this is not required. Maybe somebody later on came up with this idea, part of the, when you go away from the right path, you keep going until shaitan comes to the point where you sacrifice somebody from your family as a gift to the shaitan. Okay? Anyway, we have, yes sisters?
Excuse me, but not all Buddhists live in temple just to meditate.
Yes.
Some of them, they live normally their life, they work, they have families. So what we should do with these people?
Except European Buddhists.
Okay, there may, as she said correctly, the sister, that not all Buddhists live in, these are the monks. The monks, they live in the temples. But there are many Buddhists who are normal people. I've seen Buddhists from Thailand. Thailand is a very strictly Buddhist country. Majority of Buddhists, they're Muslims, maybe 30% Muslims in the south, but the majority Buddhists. So you go there, people are living normal lives, and they respect, they go to the temple from time to time to give their worship or sacrifice or offerings to the monks, and they feed them and all these things. But as I said, normal Buddhists are peaceful people. They are friendly people, but they don't know the truth. So this type of people, you have to talk to them about Islam. Basically, mention about Muhammad in their scriptures. This is what I'm going to talk about next. How to convince them to become Muslim is to tell them that Muhammad is mentioned in their books as the Maitreya, as the Messiah. They have this person whom they're waiting for, who is going to come later on, is the greatest Buddha, and he will bring the world religion which will be most perfect, most holy order. And they call him the Messiah. It's a great mercy. It's the great mercy. So they're waiting for somebody who's already come. They don't know he's already here. He already came and left. So we have to tell them this person you're waiting for is Muhammad. That's all. This is what I'm going to show you now.
Is this true 100%?
Now we'll see. We'll see. You can judge for yourself. So this is what we have to focus on in our da'wah. Muhammad in their scriptures. Okay. In almost all Buddhist books, it's mentioned. This is the prophecy of a Maitreya. Okay. In almost all the Buddhist books, they contain this prophecy. It is in the Chakravarti Sinhad Suttanta D376. Okay, I don't know what that D3 means, but it means maybe chapter 3, verse 76. This is what they say. There will arise in the world a Buddha named Maitreya, the benevolent one, a holy one, a supreme one, an enlightened one, endowed with wisdom in conduct, auspicious, knowing the universe. Okay? We didn't finish it. What he has realized by his own supernatural knowledge, he will publish to this universe. He will preach his religion, glorious in its origin, glorious at its climax, glorious at the goal, in the spirit and the letter. He will proclaim a religious life, wholly perfect and thoroughly pure, even as I now preach my religion and a like life do proclaim. He will keep up the society of monks, numbering many thousands, even as now I keep up a society of monks numbering many hundreds. Okay, this is the prophecy they have. another book called the Sacred Books of the East, volume 35, page 225. It is said that I'm not the only Buddha upon whom the leadership and order is dependent. After me, another Buddha, Maitreya, of such and such virtues will come. I'm now the leader of hundreds, will be the leader of thousands. Okay? Now.
Please, I have a question. How could you speak about Muhammad and their scriptures when their scriptures are not from Allah?
Just let us finish this and then we can judge accordingly. Okay? You have a good question. I will come to your point, but let me finish this point. Then we can see if this is from Allah or not from Allah. Okay? As I said, we do not have the authentic teachings of Buddha. We are depending on what's given by his disciples. It's not written down during his life. So maybe some things are there, some things may have been changed over time. Because the first written books were written 400 or 500 years after Buddha left this world. Okay? Now another one, according to the Gospel of Buddha by Karos, page 217 and 218, from the Ceylon sources, Ananda is his closest disciple. We had Keshapa and Ananda. Ananda, he said to the Blessed One, to Buddha, who shall teach us when you are gone? He's asking his master. Who is going to teach us when you go? And the Blessed One replied, I'm not the first Buddha who came upon the earth, nor shall I be the last. In due time, another Buddha will arise in the world, a holy one, a supremely enlightened one, endowed with wisdom in conduct, auspicious in the universe, incomparable leader of men, a master of angels and mortals. He will reveal to you the same eternal truths which I have taught you. He will preach his religion, glorious in its origin, glorious at the climax, glorious at the goal. He will proclaim a religious life, wholly perfect and pure as now I proclaim. His disciples will number many thousands, while mine number many hundreds. So Ananda said, how shall we know him? He replied, he will be known as Maitreya. This is the name for him. Now what is Maitreya? That's what you have to figure out. Who is the Maitreya? This is a Sanskrit word. Maitreya, or its equivalent in Pali language is Meteya. In Pali it's written Meteya, in Sanskrit Maitreya. Okay? It means loving, compassionate, merciful, benevolent. It also means kindness, friendliness, sympathy. One Arabic word for all this is Rahmah. So in Surah Al-Anbiya, what did Allah say? وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. Chapter 21, verse 107. So Muhammad is called the merciful, okay, or Maitri. Now let us see another way to define this word. In the word Muhammad, which is also spelled Muhammad or Mahomet in various other ways in different languages, the word Maho in Pali and Sanskrit means great and illustrious. And Meta means mercy. So therefore Mahomet means great mercy. This is another way to figure it out. But we cannot say 100%, but it's close. But let us see the qualities of this, what you call this man. Okay. Another prophecy in the Sacred Books of the East, volume 11, page 37. In chapter 5, verse 36, we read, the Blessed One addressed the brethren or the followers of Buddha. He said, whosoever brethren have been Arhat Buddhas through the long ages of the past, they were servitors just as devoted to those Blessed One as Ananda has been to me. He said that all the Buddhas before had somebody working for them as their servant, like Ananda has been a servant to me, devoted to me. And whosoever brethren shall be Arhat Buddhas of the future, there shall be servitors as devoted to those Blessed One as Ananda has been. Means even for the future, any Buddha who comes will have a devoted servant like Ananda has been devoted to me. Now let us look in the life of Prophet ﷺ. Which was his servant? Who was Ananda? Okay, the servant of Buddha was Ananda. What about Muhammad? His servitor was Anas, who was the son of Malik, Anas bin Malik. He was bred to the Prophet by his parents. Anas relates, my mother said to him, O Messenger of God, here is your little servant. Father, Anas relates, I served him from the time I was 8 years old, and the Prophet called me his son and his little beloved. Anas stayed with the Prophet in peace and war as well as in safety as in danger until the end of the life. So Buddha said every Prophet or any Buddha has to have a servant that dedicated his life to serve him. Like he has had Ananda, the next Buddha will also have another servitor like him, like Ananda. So you have Ananda and you have Anas. So either the names are close, okay? Similar in the description. Now, let us look at how we can compare this with how can we identify this Buddha who is coming? So, The Blessed One said there are two occasions on which a Tathagata's appearance becomes clear and exceedingly bright. In the night, Ananda, in which Tathagata attains the supreme perfect insight, and in the night in which he passes away, finally, in that ultra-passing which leaves nothing whatever of his earthly existence. So he's telling us how to recognize who is this Buddha, the Messiah, how we recognize. So we can look at the criteria. 1. There are 6 criteria of identifying who this Buddha or the Maitreya. 1. He attains supreme and perfect insight at night time. Okay? The second thing, on the occasion of his complete enlightenment, he looks exceedingly bright. 3rd, a Buddha dies a natural death. 4th, he dies at night. 5th, he looks exceedingly bright before his death. 6th, after his death, he ceases to exist on earth. So these are the 6 points Buddha gave to identify who is a Buddha. Okay? According to their teachings. Now, how can we identify the Buddha? How does it apply to the Prophet? Let's see how the Prophet, peace be upon him, meets those criteria. First of all, Muhammad attained supreme insight or the wahy at night when he was meditating in the cave of Hira. Surah Dukhan. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. وَالْكِتَابِ الْمُبِينِ إِنَّا أَنزَلْنَاهُ فِي لَيْلَةٍ مُبَارَكَةٍ إِنَّا كُنَّا مُنذِرِينَ. Chapter 44 of the Quran, verse 2 to 3. So, it was sent in the night. Okay? Surah Al-Qadr. We have indeed revealed this message in the night of Qadr. Inna anzalnahu fi laylatil Qadr. Chapter 97, verse 1. Muhammad felt his understanding illumined. He became enlightened in the night. When Jibreel came to him and told him the first 5 verses of Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi, Surah Al-Alaq. So this was done in the night, in Laylatul Qadr. Accordingly, Prophet died a natural death. We know Prophet did not die in the battle, or he died normal, he died at home. He died natural death. It's one of the criteria. And also, Aisha, said he died at night time. Because when he was dying, there was no oil in the lamp, and his wife could not have to borrow oil for the lamp. Also, according to Anas, Muhammad looked exceedingly bright in the night of his death. And after his burial, Muhammad was never seen again in bodily form on this earth. So we can see that the 6 criteria are made by Prophet Muhammad. Okay? Now, another criteria for the Buddha, they're only preachers. Okay? According to the Dhammapada, or the Sacred Books of the East, volume 10, page 67, the Tathagatas mean the Buddhas are only preachers. In the Quran, Allah says, Surah Al-Ghashiyah, فَذَكِّرْ فَإِنَّمَا أَنْتَ مُذَكِّرْ لَسْتَ عَلَيْهِمْ بِمُصَيْتِرْ. Therefore, do thou give admonition, for thou art one to admonish, thou art not one to manage men's affairs. Chapter 88, verse 21-22. So these are some of this identification. Another one, how to identify the Maitreya by Buddha. The promised one will be compassionate for the whole creation. He'll be a messenger of peace, a peacemaker, and the most successful in the world. Which prophet in the world meets all these criteria? Muhammad. This is according to their book. The only prophet who is known to be the most compassionate, Al-Rahma lil-Alameen, Muhammad. Messenger of peace, Muhammad. The most successful, Muhammad. Even the English people who wrote this book, the most influential people in the world, the ranking of the most influential 100 people, they put Muhammad number 1. Okay? There was, I think, an American Christian who wrote this book. The most successful, influential people in the world, Muhammad put number 1, though he's a Christian. Okay? He's the most successful. In the political and the religious spheres, both he was successful. And another one, they said the preacher of morals will be truthful. They call him that he will have these qualities. He will be truthful, self-respecting, gentle and noble, not proud, as a king to creatures, an example to others in deeds and words. We know that Muhammad was called as-Sadiqul Amin, even before he became a prophet. Allah said, وَإِنَّكَ لَعَلَى خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ. Surah Al-Qalam, chapter 68, verse 4. And Allah said, لقد كان لكم في رسول الله أسوة حسنة لمن كان يرجو الله واليوم الآخر وذكر الله كثيرا in Surah Al-Ahzab. Okay, so these qualities are all in Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now, let us go now to the questions. Wa alaikum salam, sisters.
I have a question.
Go ahead, go ahead.
If Buddhists are searching to remove suffering and sorrows,
yes,
why do they torture and burn Muslims alive in Burma?
That's a good question. I think we should ask them, not me. I will tell you, I believe that Buddhists, basically, that their religion is a peaceful religion. It is against, killing and against what do you call this, harming others. Even they don't harm anybody. They don't want to harm anybody. It's a very peaceful religion. They're against aggression. But this is the latest, we call it, is a recent development. Must be some fanatical Buddhists. Like in Hinduism, you have Hindus in India or even Muslims for many years peacefully. Suddenly you have this BJP coming on board. Through politicians, they manage to get them to hate Muslims and incite them to commit massacres, like in Gujarat. They kill so many Muslims, burn their home, burn them and kill them and attack them. Because somebody who is behind, these politicians, is pushing the strings behind, creating hatred. Normally they're gentle people, they're very peaceful. They're totally anti-violent people. So it must be politicians who are behind this. You see, look behind the scenes, somebody is moving the strings. So it's politically motivated aggression. And I'm not sure, maybe the government in Myanmar, they don't want Muslims in Myanmar, they'll get rid of them. So they're using these priests and these people to push the people into this kind of activity. But normally Buddhists are very friendly, very peaceful. As far as I know, I've never found them to be violent in their thinking or actions. But this is a recent development. And I believe somebody is using, politicians are using these Buddhist temple priests by scaring them of Islam. They may be telling these people Muslims will cause this, they'll take over, they'll do this, maybe they're scaring them, and so they're using propaganda to hate propaganda against Muslims. That's a reality, I think, and Allah knows best what are the reasons, but it's politically motivated for sure. Yeah. I hope that answers your question, sister.
Please?
Yes, تفضل.
In fact, I'm not convinced with this logic, because I think that if we adopt the same this logic, Buddha would be so close to Jesus more than Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because Buddha, when we read the comparison between Buddha and Jesus, we have that they have exactly the same things. Besides, when here we speak about القيم يعني العالية، القيم العالية يعني موجودة في كل الديانات.
I didn't understand. Can you repeat that?
يعني القيم الصدق.
الصدق، manners, قيم.
الصدق والوفاء بالعهد وعدم الزنا وترك الموبقات كلها موجودة في كل الديانات. وعندما نتحدث عن سيدنا محمد في دينهم هم يفهمون ذلك، يعني the supreme Buddha is another Buddha by incarnation. It is not Sayyidina Muhammad عليه أفضل الصلاة والسلام. And then in fact the most solid argument is that their books are written 500 after the death of Buddha, and he has never mentioned God in their scriptures. Never. So it is written by humans.
Yes. Okay. Are you finished, sister?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. These are good points, and I'm glad that she's, mashallah, she's well aware of these things. The thing is that, as I said, maybe Buddha taught about God, and maybe they didn't write it down. Maybe nobody wanted to write it down. Maybe somebody removed that thing from the tomb. Maybe nobody even recollected that. As I said, there's no way to verify. Because if truly he was a prophet, he has to talk about God. We know that. There's no doubt. No prophet comes without teaching about God. But there is no evidence that he talked. But what we know is that he did not mention anything clear about God. That's what we know according to what we have as sources of Buddhist teachings. Now, the probability that he is a prophet or not a prophet is something, depends on how you look at it. If this Buddha that we are looking at as Maitreya is really the Prophet Muhammad, then he must have been a prophet. If truly he mentioned about these qualities and this applies to Muhammad, then we can say for sure he must have been a prophet. I would have known about Prophet Muhammad coming back and having all these qualities. However, if it does not apply to Muhammad, then he was not a prophet. We're talking about another Buddha. As she said, most Buddhas don't think this is Prophet Muhammad. They think it's another Buddha. They expect another Buddha to come who will be like the greatest one, and he will be the one to reform the world and all these things. Like the Jews are waiting for another Messiah. The Jews, They don't accept Isa as the Messiah who was promised to them. But he was the real Messiah. He's mentioned in their books. He came to them and he lived and he left, and still they don't know that he's gone. They still think there's another Messiah to come. And when the false Messiah comes, they will follow him. So the fact is that sometimes the things are in their books, but they don't recognize. Christians don't recognize Muhammad and he's in their book. We know for sure that he's mentioned in the Old Testament and in the New Testament, in spite of all the changes that are done to the scriptures. But how many Christians today accept Muhammad as a prophet? Very few. None, maybe none. No. Only few maybe they know, but they're hiding it. Majority they don't accept. So I'm saying that the fact that in the books it may be mentioned does not mean that everybody knows about it. Because these languages are not known to the common man. The common body doesn't read the scripture. He doesn't know Sanskrit language or Pali language. These are dead languages. Only the priests, they read. They don't know. And the same thing with the Christians, many don't read the Bible. So, these facts may be in the Bible, but they don't know about it, or the priests don't talk about it, or they explain it in a different manner. So, that is why you find people, they don't recognize Muhammad Sallallahu. But if you want to recognize, you have to go to the original teachings, which are authentic, then you can find. So what I said, we are trying to find some elements of this in their own scriptures. So we think that this could be, we're saying it's not 100%, it could be Muhammad Sallallahu. Based on what we can compare with our scriptures, what he's saying is very close to what Prophet is supposed to be. However, there is a percentage of error. It's not 100%, it is like, you could say 80%, 20% chance of error. Allahu A'lam. So we don't know really Buddha was a prophet, not Allahu A'lam, because it's not mentioned in the Quran by name. And also, we cannot verify the real teachings of Buddha. What we're using what the disciples say, which was written very long after he died. So these are just tools for dawah. But if suppose you convince a Buddhist that he is Muhammad, you've done your job. Now if we think we're not deceiving them, we say we believe that this is Buddha, we can tell we believe that this big material is coming, is Muhammad Sallallahu. And now Buddha came how many years ago? So this Buddha till now has not come. When is going to come? After the world ends, he's already here, you see. So that thing means that they may understand that maybe Muhammad is the one. They may research about it. So all the principles of Buddhism, we have it in Islam. Right-mindedness, all these things are in the Islam that need to think in the right way, to behave in the right way. The al-ma'ruf, the good qualities are already here. But their problem, as I said, if they adopt other local gods, like the Hindu gods, they worship statues, then they've gone astray for sure. Then if they worship other gods, you have to tell them this is polytheism. It's not the right way. You have to believe in monotheism. They invite them to Tawheed. We have the option of inviting them to Tawheed. Treat them like the Hindus, no problem. If you don't want to use this technique of comparing about Muhammad with their matriarch, just call them to Tawheed. This applies to every religion, which is polytheistic. Whether they are worshipping 3 gods or 1 god, 1,000 gods, they don't believe in the truth. We told them we believe in Islam is the right way because we have only one God. Talk to them about Tawheed. Most people accept this concept of Tawheed. Especially people who believe more than one God. It makes more sense, more logic. So there are many ways to invite people to Islam, not only one way. Yes.
Sure.
Yes, sister.
Did you have experience with them before, or
yes?
And how did they answer when you tell them that Muhammad was mentioned in your scripture?
I actually had Buddhist monks in my mosque twice. In the Fatih mosque, they came from the embassy of Thailand. They came to visit. They came to give their dawah or their courses to this Buddhist people in Bahrain, or Thailand community in Bahrain. And I took them on a tour twice. And I talked to them and I told them about Maitreya, about Islam. They listen and they respect, but they don't respond. They don't accept. They still think that, they are in the right way. they don't say anything. They don't say. What they did, they invited me to have a sitting with them in a circle and they said, make a dua for us. Make prayer for us. So I read Surah Al-Fatiha. And so I said, Ameen, Ameen, Ya Allah. They said, Ameen. Okay? They made their own prayers. I didn't say anything. I let them do their own prayers. But what is this? They listen. They listen and they think, but they don't change easily. They don't change easily. They listen and they pay attention, but it's very hard to convert a Buddhist. As a Hindu also, it's very hard. But Christians and atheists are a bit more easier. So Buddhists, it's very hard to convert them. We have a sister with us who's working there. She's a Buddhist. She was a former Buddhist. And she wrote a book about how she became Muslim. And proved from the Buddhist scriptures that Muhammad is mentioned and that Islam is the correct religion. It's already mentioned in their books. You know what happened when her sister went to print this book in Sri Lanka? They held her back. They confiscated the books. They don't want this to be published. So they gave her a hard time till she was allowed to come back. So they have their own, their own agendas. Okay, they're looking for their own, to protect their own community. So Buddhist monks and people are normally friendly, but if they feel threatened by Islam spreading and this, they will react violently. And so that in Sri Lanka also the Muslims being harmed by Buddhists. So there's a problem in Sri Lanka because many Muslims or Buddhists are converting to Islam. So wherever you see Islam is spreading in a Buddhist community, the monks get angry and they start to react in their negative way. Yes.
Yes, Sheikh, yes, I think you are correct for the government push the people to kill Muslims. And I think too, when I ask myself why these people kill Muslims, and I say, I think when they do khutbah and they do they're speaking about Islam and religion, Muslims. I think they speak a lot of about Buddhists because they live there, and they say there is
Can you use the mic, please, so the sisters can hear.
And there is a...
Briefly repeat what you said so they can
okay. I think you are correct for what you say about the government push the people to killing Muslim. And when I ask myself why I see the video and ask myself why these people kill Muslim too, because like when the Muslims make khutbah and muhadarat and everything about this and speaking about Islam and religion, and they say the Buddhist is kuffar and something like this. Maybe this make Buddhists angry, and this is everything about this. But I'm not with Buddhist, but this is the truth. This is the fact about this. You understand?
Thanks for your comments. Thanks for your comments, Brother Mukhtar. So basically, see, there is no one way to do dawah to anybody, whether it's Buddhist or Hindu or Christian. We are trying to find many ways. So you have to use more than one approach. Sometimes it's a book. You can give them a book that will open their hearts and minds. Sometimes you are being friendly with them and being close to them and trying to influence them through your friendship. Sometimes it's through, they go through an experience. Maybe they had a problem. I find sometimes somebody had a problem and you help them to solve their problem. They feel like you have to be something special because you help them, so they prefer to join your faith. So, could be many reasons. I told you about the story of that American woman who became Muslim through the cake,
Yes.
The husband of this lady, he was, I think, from Saudi Arabia. He was giving her books every day, pamphlets every day about Islam, and for 3 years she didn't accept Islam. Eventually his wife, she was neighbor, she just made a cake and to share with the neighbor. She didn't know a single word of English language. Just she gave the cake, and this lady, she loved the cake. She came to ask her how you cook it. By sign language, she explained everything, and practically said, if you can cook such cakes, your religion must be very good, So you can have, we call it biryani dawah, also we call it biryani dawah. You can make biryani and invite the people. Somebody used to do that, it's worked successfully. Many people became Muslim through biryani. Just offer them nice dish, and they will love it. We had Americans, when I was studying in the US, we had this Jamaat Tabligh, they used to come to take us around. So one day we went around, walked around, and we ended up in the local mosque to pray and eat. So we were sitting on the bed, the sufra, they have to sit on the ground, like the Sahabas, and we were eating. So 2 men were coming. They went, next to us is the bar. Next door is the bar or selling this alcohol. They were going there, but by mistake they lost, they made the wrong entrance. They entered the masjid. So they kept, hey brother man, what's going on here man? I said, oh brothers, we're having lunch. You want to join us? Oh right man. Where are you from man? I'm from Oman. And where are you brother man? I'm from Pakistan. Where are you from? from Saudi Arabia. And we're, oh man, you guys are from different countries and you're eating together. I said, yes, what's wrong? We're all brothers, we're all Muslims. Wow, this is great, you know. After the can we become Muslims? Of course, you're welcome. You know, this is how it is. Subhanallah, and you never know how somebody will become Muslim. Sometimes not talking, sometimes actions. Being kind, being helpful, being gentle. We don't know how you touch people's hearts. So this information is good, but it's not the only way. Yeah, it is Allah. Allah is the one who opens the hearts. So subhanallah, you never know how that person, but you try different approaches. You try this, doesn't work, try another approach. It's like the key, looking for the right key. You know, every heart has a key. Try to find the right key. Try this key, doesn't work, pick another key, another key, another key. So I have about a bunch of keys till you find the right key. Okay? Yes.
Yes, Sheikh, as you said, always try to find the appropriate.
Exactly.
But I'm afraid of something.
Yes.
Yes. If we use arguments from their books to support to call it Islam.
Yeah.
This is a way to acknowledge that what I have is true and that Buddha is a prophet. So I'm afraid that the starting point is wrong. So we cannot go very far away with them. So is it not much more safer to start from scratch to treat them as a polytheist and call that rather than using all these
we don't use
okay.
I think that we don't use what we believe. We use what they believe. You believe in your books and in Buddha. Well, there is Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is.
But this is the way to admit that what they have is true.
Points well taken. Brothers are saying that we don't want to build an argument on a false premise, in the sense that if we accept that their books are saying about Muhammad that their religion is true, and that Buddha must have been a prophet. And the others say, no, we want to talk to them through the fact that this is in your books, so we should accept Muhammad as a prophet. Okay, there is one thing you can say is that, see, this comparative religious studies is to help you to make your job easier as a dai, because you can do dai without knowing comparative religion. You can just present Islam, period. This is always acceptable. Rasulullah always presented Islam what it is to anyone, without talking about their religion. But comparative religion is helpful when you know the person that is a Christian, you know what is the problem with this aqidah, you know where to focus. What is your main target? What you have to target in terms of bringing closer to Islam. It saves a lot of, saves you time. And also if you're dealing with an atheist, you know where to approach, how to approach it. It makes you easier to find the right key. Also with the Buddhists, you know how they think, their mentality, why do they do what they do, what do they believe. So this is to help you to judge what is the right approach to use to this person. So you can use that comparative studies thing as saying, no, according to your scriptures, the matria who is mentioned, you know, is the Prophet Muhammad. We have found that these qualities are in our Prophet Muhammad. Have you ever read about our Prophet? Do you want to compare? You give information about the Prophet and let him compare with his matria. Maybe you'll find out for sure. But if he doesn't believe so, fine. Talk to him about Islam. Always I take this Buddhist monks, I talk to them first, what is Islam? Then I mentioned later on, you know, what is interesting, I read about your books. Most of your principles, you know, the eight noble fold path is all in Islam. We have to think rightly, we have to live a good life, livelihood, given the principles or the moral conduct of Muslims. So this is already there. And not only that, the qualities of your matria are already there with our Prophet Muhammad. We have the same quality, he has the same, even more qualities than that. So you have to awaken their curiosity to study about Islam. This is what you can do. In a short time you cannot convert a Buddhist to Islam. It needs a lot of time. But at least create in his mind and heart the interest in Islam. This is the minimum. You have to make them interested to know what is Islam. Maybe he doesn't know about Islam, he doesn't know about Prophet ﷺ. So let him go and study. Tell you, have you read about Muhammad? He is similar in his qualities to a Maitreya. Why don't you check it out? Why don't you study about him? So let him think, oh, maybe I missed something. Let me go and check it out. The Christians say, you know this verse in the Bible which talks about Moses will be, God told Moses, I would send another, in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 18, verse 18, God says, Moses, I will raise up for them from among their brethren or their cousins a prophet like unto thee. And I shall put my words into his mouth. Whatever that he shall speak unto them. And whoever does not hearken, or does not answer to what he will speak in my name, I'll call him to account. Do you know who is this man? Who is it referred here? He said, no, it's the Holy Spirit. It's not Jesus. Oh, it's not Jesus. Jesus from among them. Who are the brethren of the Israelites? The Ishmaelites. This is Muhammad. Why don't you check it out and compare for yourself? You see? Give them the reason to study about Islam. Because maybe he will not accept you immediately, but if he goes and does his homework, he'll find that what you're saying is true. So why lose that opportunity? Because you'll never see him a second time.
Sheikh,
yeah.
And another argument that Quran used what is wrote in Bible and in Judaism. In Quran says that يكتبون الكتاب بأيديهم ويقولون هذا من عند الله. And when Muhammad صلى الله عليه وسلم came, that Bible is محرف. And رغم ذلك القرآن says الرسول الذين يجدون عنده في التوراة يعني we use what is wrote in their books. And they are محرف. And we are not saying that what you have, the Bible is true. But we use what they have.
In any case, we know that Islam ناسخ لكل الأديان ما سبقها. يعني if anybody says, okay, our religion is fine, or say, okay, it's using our Bible, okay, we are Christian. You cannot remain Christian now. Muhammad came with the final Sharia. You have to follow him. So all the previous Sharias are now cancelled. You have to follow the final law with Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You have to follow him as the last prophet. So we can tell them all these previous prophets came for their own time, for that specific period. After Muhammad, you have to follow Muhammad. Because people said, okay, that's fine. You believe in Muhammad, I believe in Jesus, we're all going to paradise. Okay? Even the Hindus said, no problem. You worship your God, I worship my God. We're all going to Jannah. What's the problem? So the thing, all roads lead to paradise. Whether you're Hindu, whether you're Buddhist, whether you're Christian.
Buddhists don't.
No, they don't have a life after. Yes. The Hindus believe in reincarnation. This is we'll talk about next. So basically, you have different things out there, but there's nothing that can really compete with Islam. Nothing. Neither Christianity, nor Judaism, nothing can compare with Islam. But the problem is, our problem is how to present Islam in a convincing, effective manner. This is our problem. We have to be good presenters of Islam. The problem is many people in the West, they don't understand Islam correctly. They get it in the wrong way. So this creates misconceptions. That's why you have to know how to remove the misconceptions. And then present the correct Islam. Because this is the only way to convince them that it's the right way. Because they think, okay, it's fine, I'm happy to be a Christian, you're happy to be a Muslim, maybe you're born with Muslim parents, that's your culture, it's my culture. You have to understand, no, there's a difference. Islam is the only correct religion with Allah. إِنَّ الدِّينَ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ الْإِسْلَامِ وَمَنْ يَبْتَغِ غَيْرَ الْإِسْلَامِ دِينًا فَلَنْ يُقْبَلَ مِنْهُ وَهُوَ فِي الْآخِرَةِ مِنَ الْخَاسِرِينَ. They have to understand this, that they have to make the right choice, because there's no second chance. Once you leave this world, khalas. So this is your opportunity, you have to make the decision here. So you have to understand, you cannot remain a Christian now. After Muhammad came, you have to accept Islam. Otherwise your faith is not complete. So how will I put it to them? I said, if I was living at the time of Jesus, I have to accept Jesus as the prophet. If I live at the time of Moses, I have to accept Moses, follow him. If I live at the time of Abraham, I have to follow Abraham. Now after Muhammad came, all of us have to follow Muhammad. No exception. Yes. He is the last and the final. And God has said, we all have to follow him, otherwise he will not accept from us anything. This is the way to put it to them. So they realize they have to make that choice. And they said, okay, it's fine, Islam is good, Christianity also is good, Hinduism is good, Buddhism is good, why do you follow Islam? You have to make sure that they understand, no, it's not, God will not accept any other religion other than Islam. Okay? Fine. Are we, okay, now we are done with Buddhists, we'll take, what is the time for the break, 10:30? So, not yet. We finished early, actually. For those who came late, just a few announcements. We have a beautiful DVD, which we have done a documentary in Bahrain. It's about the awareness AT&T program, how to conduct tours in the mosque. This was done in Bahrain professionally. It's a documentary on how to do tours, and it starts from A to Z, how to do the tour. And if those who have not had this experience, you can get a copy of this from the management and give it to the management. You can get a copy of the CD. And you can make copies for your friends who want to know. It's beautiful and explains everything in detail. This is very good.
This is what we watched last year.
What? Last year? Did I show this?
The movie?
Yeah, the movie. This is the one. This is the one. Yeah, this is the one. Exactly. Those who have done last time, they showed.
Yes. I have a question, please.
Yes, sister, go ahead.
in Buddhists, there are a majority of atheists, which means that there are people Buddhists and don't believe in God.
Well, the Buddhists, originally Buddhism did not have the concept of God, so people chose their own gods. Some don't believe, some believe in gods. So you have some who adopted Hindu gods. Those who are living in India or in Nepal, they adopted Hindu gods. Some worship Buddha as the god. Some don't have any god. So this is the problem with Buddhism. There's no clear indication about God, which God to worship. Some worship Buddha as a god, some worship the Hindu gods, the local god of their community. Others have no god. This is the problem. Now, I've seen many people in the West, especially Western now, they're looking for the truth. They're searching for the truth. They adopt Buddhism faster than Islam. You know why? It's easy. Okay? No need to pray 5 times a day. No need to fast Ramadan. Of course, they do have fasting and they do have, for the other, they do meditation, but it's not very difficult. It's like a philosophy, self-help philosophy. It's like your own personal, thing. So they like it. They like the meditation. They like all these things. But still, they don't get satisfied. You know the story of Yusuf Islam. Cat Stevens. He tried Buddhism. He tried Hindu. He tried everything to collect any kind of thing to hang on his neck until he came to Islam eventually. So many go through this process. They go through Buddhism and through Hinduism and try different things, then end up in Islam. Because Islam is the only religion that can fill that gap in their hearts. You cannot get real peace in your heart until you turn to Islam. Because Islam, yes, sister.
It's just a point. Their religion is based on pain. They think that they have to remove pain from this world.
Yes, yes.
So from where can this pain?
The desire. They say all suffering and misery and pain.
From what desire of people?
People's desires. People's desires. People desire to get wealth. Desire to get position, all the desires of this dunya.
Because
the lusts, the greed, the desire for all these, pleasures of this world.
Because Shaykh, most of atheists believe that this pain is from the God who is unfair. They think like that. So we have manners to answer to him. To them.
Okay, we have to explain to them the concept of life in Islam. We have to tell them that this life is not really the real life. This is a test. We have to explain to them in Islam, this world is meant to be a place of examination. This is in the Quran. هو الذي خلق الموت والحياة ليبلوكم أو ليختبركم أيكم أحسن عملا. So the world, this world we have, is a place of test, examination. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not bring us to have perfect life here. The perfect life is in the paradise, in the hereafter. So this life, as far as Muslims are concerned, is a place of examination. Allah will test us with happiness and sorrow, with wealth and poverty, with sickness and health, with the good fortune and bad fortune. So nobody will remain in one state. The state is always changing from one position to another. It's an examination to see how you react. Whether you believe or not believe, whether you be grateful or not grateful, whether you be thankful or not thankful. So you can explain, as far as the Islamic perspective of life is that this life is not meant to be perfect. There has to be... العدل الإلهي موجود. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not wrong anybody because of our own actions. We wrong our own selves. Because human beings, they commit dhulm. And this dhulm is the cause of our suffering. But if we follow the guidance of Allah, we'll become just. Because God is just, wants people to be just.
Sheikh, I have, I think, a possible answer. Excuse me for this. أقول كيف لنا أن نحكم عن العدل والحاكم لم يقم بالحكم. نحكم قبل القضية، قبل الحكم. الحكم لم يقم بعد. الحكم يكون يوم الآخرة. عن عمل البشر ليس الآن.
Like, why did Allah send the religion of Islam to the Azwajin, the Sharia, to establish justice, القسط. الأنبياء ليش جاءوا بالشرائع؟ عشان يكون في عدل وقسط في الأرض. ولكن ما هو سبب عدم وجود العدل والقسط؟ البشرية هم أنفسهم. النفس الإنسان ظلم من الناس. So we believe that Allah sent His messengers and the prophets to teach people how to be just, to establish justice.
Please, لكن مثلا عذاب الطفل الصغير او الحيوانات يعني لا يمكن تفسيره بالبشر هم سبب في ذلك يعني هناك اسئله صعب الاجابه عنها
Can you be more specific what you mean عذاب الطفل او عذاب
يعني هناك اطفال تتالم من امراض لم يقوموا باي ذنوب وهناك حيوانات تعذب يعني في الغاب يعني أسئلة مثل هذه صعب الإجابة عنها.
See, nothing happens except with the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is among the things Allah has permitted to happen. Of course, if Allah made this place a paradise, there's no suffering, then what is the benefit of, there'll be no meaning to life. Life has to go, because suffering is necessary to realize the opposite. Everything is known by its depth.
Yeah, exactly.
You cannot know happiness unless you know what is sorrow.
Yeah.
You cannot know what is good if you don't know what is bad.
Yeah.
So we distinguish things by the opposites. So if we see this sorrow and something, then we appreciate what it is the opposite. This is the way Allah teaches us to know things by the opposites. So if you say blind man, you appreciate that you have eyesight. Now you have to be grateful to Allah, He gave you eyesight. Somebody is lame, alhamdulillah, I can walk. You thank Allah for that. If you are healthy, oh, alhamdulillah, see a sick man, alhamdulillah, Allah has not made me to be in that position. That is how Allah wants us to appreciate His qualities, His gifts. Others people not even thank Allah. And those people who are being tested here, they'll be rewarded there. Because the person who is blind here and is patient, he goes to Jannah. Allah's promises Jannah. Those who are patient among the Muslims who are tested with this problem, Allah will make it for them to go to Jannah.
شيخ هو صحيح يعني كل ما تقوله. لكن هم مثلا عندما تقول لهم هذا يقول لك هل تود أن تكون أنت عبرة لغيرك يعني ما رأيك بالجنون لتكون أنت عبرة لغيرك يعني لو تضع نفسك مكان هذا المجنون أو ذاك الذي لا يبصر يعني هم يتحدثون عن عبد إليه بطريقة يعني
See, the thing is that we as Muslims we نستسلم لله. See, القدر هذا من أركان الإيمان. القدر خير وشر. إذا الله سبحانه أخذ مني عيوني أو أخذ مني شيء من أنا راضي. لأن أنا مسلم أؤمن بأن هذا في مصلحتي والله سبحانه وتعالى ما سوى إلا لحكمة. في قضايا كثيرة مثلا في واحدة كانت أيام الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم تسرع يعني she had a problem and she went to Rasul صلى الله عليه وسلم يا رسول pray to Allah to remove this problem from me. So he told her if you want I'll pray to Allah to cure you or else if you are patient you'll go to Jannah. Which you prefer? I said no, I'd rather be patient. But pray to Allah if I fall down not to expose my nudity not to be exposed. So he prayed to Allah that she should not be exposed and she's okay. So we may not know sometimes that this is for our benefit. Sometimes we have to go through suffering to get reformed. If everybody was happy, people not realize they're doing something wrong. Suppose you're committing a mistake and you don't know, everything's fine, you may continue in that wrong way without realizing. But some problem comes, you realize, oh, I made a mistake, I have to make tawbah, I've done wrong, I have to change my way. Sometimes problems happen to purify us from our sins. Sometimes it's only a test from Allah to increase our darajat. Rasul Sallam said, أشد الناس بلاء الأنبياء ثم الأمثل فالأمثل ويبتلى الشخص بقدر دينه. The more your iman, the greater is your test. The prophets are the ones who tested the most. So the bala is given, your test is according to your ability or your iman. You can handle it. So Allah does not put a test greater than what you can bear. So tell them, this is one of the things we believe that will be tested. أفحسب الناس أن يدخلوا الجنة ولما يأتي مثل الذين من قبل مستهم البأساء والضراء وزلزلوا حتى يقول الرسول والذين آمنوا معه متى نصر الله ألا إن نصر الله قريب. Allah said this is sunnah. His sunnah and so He will test everybody.
شيخ يمكن أن يعني هل أطلت يعني يمكن أن أجيب عن هذه النقطة؟
طيب أنت عندك جواب؟
لا أنا أبحث عن إجابة خير. أنا أبحث عن إجابة خير مما أقدمها يعني. أنا أكتفي بقول أن الله يعني الحكم إليه لم يكن يعني لم يصل بعد يعني الحكم إليه في الآخرة ليس في الدنيا يعني فما ظلم كبير يعني صحيح.
الدنيا لا أنت ما
ربي سبحانه يرفع عباده درجات اللي تعذب في الدنيا اللي باش يرفعوا درجات ربي سبحانه وتعالى. يعني مثلا بعض حاجات صحيح ما نقدروش نجاوب عليها.
نحن لا نقدر نقول لهم شوف يعتمد how you look upon this life. Are you looking this as the only life? You have to understand that the kuffar they don't believe in the akhirah. So they have a different way of looking at this world. For them, this is the only life. There's no akhirah. So he wants this life to be perfect.
That's a proof that there will be another day.
Exactly.
Yeah. لكن عن النقطة الشيخة التي ذكرتها في أن الأكثر بلاء يعني هم الناس الأتقياء فالأنبياء والرسل يعني في الأمثال. هناك كثير من الناس الذين ليس لهم يعني علاقة طيبة بالله ويبتلون من البلاءات العظام يعني. من أقل الأمثلة يعني المس أو اللبس يعني يصير الإنسان بعيد عن الله يعني. وهناك أمثلة عديدة يعني موت الطفل الصغير لوالديه وهم كل بعض يعني بعيدين عن الله يعني.
الله said ومنكم من يتوفى من قبل ذلك يعني the sum of now can you read the ayah please? Can you say it again? ومنكم من يتوفى من قبل ومنكم من يرد إلى أرض الأم لكي لا يعلم من بعد علم شيئا. So Allah has made this as a sign for the people. Because if everybody knew that you will only die when he's old, what do? They commit ma'asi. Said, I'm still not yet reached that age. But I know I may die when I'm small. I may die when I'm young. So it means any state you have to be ready. So Allah has hikmah in doing it. Because nobody knows when you will die. People die when they're even in the wombs of their mothers. Of course, if you die before the age of taklif, you're not sinful. You go to Jannah, inshallah. But people should be aware that death can come at any time. So Allah's made this maybe sunnah. Allah knows the hikmah, but it means that death can come any time. So one should be prepared any time. Don't say, oh, I'm still young, shabab. When I reach 60 years, 70 years, I'll make tawbah. Who gives you the guarantee you reach to 70 years or 60 years? Because anyone. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has hikmah in whatever He does. Maybe we do not understand the hikmah now, we don't see it, but there is hikmah in everything. So what we may see is suffering is actually maybe good. Like you see the story of Sayyidina Al-Khidr, Musa alayhi salam. He killed that boy, Al-Ghulam. He was a young boy. And he didn't do anything wrong. And someone said, this is Musa, how you kill this boy? He's innocent, he's not killed anything. How can you kill without him killing anybody else? And that one Al-Khidr, he made a hole in that boat and it sank. And he did some other thing. So he did three things. He built that wall again. So what looks apparently to be bad has a hidden rahmah behind it. That boy, Allah has informed, given to Al-Khidr that if he grew up, he will become a source of sorrow for the parents. He will lead them away from the straight path. The parents were religious, pious people, and this boy became asi, or rebellious and kafir. Allah knows that he will become that. So Allah, out of His mercy for those parents, He took him he took his life now to save the parents from this agony. Because they loved him so much, they will be following him. And they may suffer because of that and leave the path of Allah. So Al-Khidr explained afterwards the reasons why he did it. Openly, to us it looks bad, but when you look at the bottom behind the reason, it was rahmah, that Allah killed this boy or took his life from this age. And also that the boat was saved from that king who would have confiscated it, and these poor people had a way to earn their living. And that wall had underneath the gold, which was the treasure for those orphans. If it had fallen down, those miserly people, those people who are living in that area who were miserly and they were cruel, they would have taken that and not given to those orphans. So see, there is hikmah for everything. Maybe it doesn't appear to us to be good, but inside the story, deep down, it is actually for our benefit. There is a benefit for other people. And Allah knows best, yes.
Thank you, Sheikh.
Shukran. Your first day, I see you today. What's your name?
My name is
Muhammad, yes. You're from Nigeria? Ghana, Accra. Welcome to Bahrain. Now, welcome to Tunisia. So, better in Bahrain. Tafadal, Sheikh. Yeah.
So, my question is that I want to know the difference between Buddhism and tradition.
Tradition?
Tradition.
Traditional religions?
Yeah.
You following the local African primitive religions? Well, I don't know about the local tradition of African religions, but I know about Buddhism, which have been talked about. This is what I've talked about. But about African religions, they're different, totally different. Some of them worship spirits. They have magic, and they have other things. They deal with the devils or the genies. I don't know much about it. But I was in Africa. I lived in Africa myself. I was in Uganda, in East Africa. But I used to see people going to worship. They have a sorcerer, which they do certain rituals. They sacrifice things, and there are so many different rituals they do, but it all has to do with satanic things. So I believe that these are not like totally different from Buddhism.
Okay.
It's different totally.
Yeah. But through what I've learned so far about the Buddhism,
yeah,
and what I know about the tradition,
yeah,
it seems they are the same thing, because the traditional, they also do the same thing as you said. The Buddhism, some of them, they worship anything at all. At the Bakara, you said.
This is Hinduism.
And you said
some Buddhists have taken from the religions of the Hindus. That's true.
Yeah.
But originally, Buddhism, there's no such gods. They adopted later on.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you tell us about your African religion. What do they believe in?
For our country, we have only 3 religions.
Can you use the mic, please, so the sisters can hear? If you can come forward, please. Just stand and then talk to us, because yeah, please use the mic, because the sisters cannot hear.
Okay.
Repeat the question.
Okay, my question was that I wanted to know the difference between the Buddhism and tradition. And as you answered me, you don't know much about the tradition.
African traditions.
Yeah, and I said, through our lectures today, I got to know about the Buddhism, and I compared it, to tradition, and it seems they are the same. That's why I wanted to ask you, what is the difference between them? And as you asked me about our religions in our country, we have 3 religions, which is the Islamic and Christianity, and the third one is tradition. Tradition, what they do is the same thing. They kill whatever, other goat or animals, any animal at all. They kill it, and for the blood, to flow the blood for anything they have, they use as a statue.
You wash the blood?
No. Statue. The person having the statue there. The statue there.
They carry blood, the black,
yeah.
blood.
Yeah. And they kill anything, any animal at all, as goat, sheep, or the cow. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. That's how they also do their worship.
Well, I've never been to their services, but it's good that you are sharing this with us here. Can I thank you, Muhammad, for sharing with us. That was Brother Muhammad from Ghana. He was sharing with us about the African traditional religion. So there's similarity between that and Buddhism. And I think he clearly stated that they have these statues that they worship, and they put coloring on it with blood, and they have animals also. Any animal god they can color and sacrifice it. So they could see there's a lot of similarities among religions. And I'm not a specialist on African primitive religions. I don't know about that. I just know that they have their own special rituals that they do. Okay? But thank you for your input. I appreciate that. Thank you. Now we'll have a break, tea break. At last, coffee break. 10 minutes and come back, please. Okay? We want to watch about DVD on Hinduism next, inshallah. Thank you.